Morning, calling the meeting to order. This is the Committee on Housing. Today is Thursday, February 4th, 2020. It's 9:04 a.m. and we're in conference room 423 at the State Capitol. Thank you for joining us and for submitting your written testimony. I'm Nadine Nakamura, the new chair of the Housing Committee, and my vice chair is Troy Hashimoto. We have 12 bills this morning and a floor session at noon. So I want to thank everyone for your written testimony. And if you want to stand by your testimony, that would be fine. If not, you will have a 2-minute limit. And we'll take you in the order of submission. So let's start off with HB 77 relating to lands controlled by the state. It exempts the sale of fee interest in certain affordable leasehold developments by the HSG from legislative approval. So first up is Denise Iseri Matsubara, Executive Director of HSG.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committees. Denise Matsubara, HHFDC. We strongly support this bill that would exempt certain leasehold condo units and house lots on remnant parcels that we own from Chapter 176. This would allow families, many of whom have been on the land for years, to finally achieve real home ownership. Thank you for the opportunity.
Next up is Leimomi Fisher in the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. I'm Leimomi Fisher, Public Policy Advocate, testifying on behalf of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs on HB 77. OHA stands on its testimony with comments. And prior to this hearing, we also offered this same language to HHFDC and they seemed agreeable to it. So we're also available for any questions or comments and willing to work more with HHFDC on this. Mahalo nui.
Thank you, Leimomi. Next we have Keith Otto, Carl Baker in support, Stephanie Sakamoto in support, and James Chan in support. Are there any questions, members? Hearing none, let's go to the next item, HB 212, relating to fire protection. Requires builders to provide cost estimates for residential fire sprinklers to potential buyers of all new 1- and 2-family dwellings. First up, we have HB. We have Alani Puyogo from DCCA.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Alani Kiyoki, and I am the Licensing Administrator for the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs Professional and Vocational Licensing Division. The department respectfully opposes this bill to the extent that it requires the division to develop a standard form to be used to confirm a new dwelling buyer's receipt of information on the benefits and costs associated with installing and maintaining a residential fire sprinkler system. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Candice Ito, Contractors License Board. Comment.
Good morning. This is Candice Ito. I am the Executive Officer for the Contractors License Board, and the board. I'm sorry.
Can you speak a little louder?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I have my mask on. I'm the Executive Officer of the Contractors License Board, and the board stands on its written testimony offering comments on this bill. The board will discuss this bill at its February 19, 2021 meeting.
Next up is Stephanie Sakamoto from BIA Hawaii with comments.
Good morning, Stephanie Sakamoto on behalf of BIA Hawaii. We'll stand on our comments in opposition to this bill. Available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And testimony from Manuel Neves, Chair of the State Fire Council. Okay. So are there any questions, members? If not, we will go to the next item, HB 502. First up is Vani Funakoshi and Aaron Setogawa, Office Planning.
Morning, Chair. This is Aaron Setogawa from the Office of Planning. Office of Planning stands on its testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Morris Atta, Department of Agriculture, comment.
Good morning, Chair Nakamura and committee members. The Department, Marsata, on behalf of the Department of Agriculture, the department will stand on its written testimony expressing strong concerns about this measure. Thank you.
And Kenji Rocky from the Hawaii Association of Realtors in opposition. I'm sorry, in support. Okay. Are there any questions relating to HB 502? If not, we'll go on to the next item, HB 605, relating to housing savings account. It establishes the procedures for a housing savings account system for all employees in the state. First up is Craig T. Rai, Department of Budget and Finance. Comment. And we also have Thu Feb in support. Next is Tom Yamachika, the Tax Foundation of Hawaii, with comments. Ellen Godby, person, an individual with in support, and Stephanie Sakamoto with comments. Are there any questions? Hearing none. Next item is HB 616, relating to broadband access. First testifier is Hakeem Wansafi with Hawaii Public Housing Authority.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Happy New Year. The HPHA stands on its written testimony. We appreciate the intent. I'm here for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Hakeem. Next item, testifier Eric Abe from Hawaii Primary Care Association in support. Leimomi Khan in support. Charlotte Carter Yamauchi with comments. Next, are there any questions? So the next item is HB 969, relating to counties. Requires counties within 60 days to maintain infrastructure under specified conditions as part of any housing development for the Department of Hawaiian Homeland. First up is William Ayla, Chairman of DHHL. Next is Eric Nakagawa, County of Maui, Department of Environmental Management in opposition. Leimomi Khan in support. Wesley Yokoyama from the City and County of Honolulu with comments. And Pomilani Shadel in support. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll go to the next item, which is HB 981, relating to rental discrimination. This creates a new chapter on source of income discrimination in rental transactions, add definitions and enforcement remedies by direct civil action. The first testifier is Tara Jabola Carroll, with Hawaii State Commission on Status of Women.
Good morning, Chair. If it's amenable to you, I'm going to keep my video off because my internet is unstable. But I want to greet you and quickly summarize my testimony. Different versions of this bill have been introduced in previous sessions, but I want to pull out a different framing this year. Discrimination against Section 8 voucher holders or working class people is bad enough already. And we're one of the only major cities in the US that continues to allow this practice from landlords. But what's even worse is that we believe that it is actually just a proxy for sex discrimination. 83% of Section 8 voucher holders are single mothers. And we know this practice is rampant and really limits access to affordable housing for women. And so we believe because of the seriousness of this problem and the impact, we should have a $5,000 fine. That's the difference, I believe, from previous versions to make sure that this practice is prohibited. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is William Postillo from the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission.
Morning, Chair and members. You have our written testimony in support of House Bill 981. I'd like to call your attention to the testimony at the bottom of page 2, and where we note that this bill is substantively similar to House Bill 1390, which follows it on the agenda. House Bill 981 provides the same protections as House Bill 1390 by prohibiting discrimination against persons based on their source of income, but it does so in a shorter, simpler, and clearer fashion. So I think in that respect, it's preferable. We also note that there's one substantive difference between the two bills, and that's that the House Bill 981 does not prohibit steering. And just call that to your attention. And if the committee chooses to address that omission, we provide some proposed language. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next up is Scott Morishige, Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. Bart?
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. Scott Morishige, Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. I support this bill and stand on my written testimony. And just note that this would remove a huge barrier for homeless individuals and families statewide who currently have challenges accessing housing due to the fact that they primarily access housing with assistance of housing vouchers such as Section 8 vouchers or Housing First vouchers for this population. So thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Scott. Next up is Hakeem Wensaki, District Director of Hawaii Public Housing Authority.
Aloha again. Thank you for this opportunity. We submitted a testimony in support of this bill. I'd just like to add that any perceptions that landlords have had about the tenants of Section 8 has been shattered during the pandemic. People of all that worked all their life have lost their job, and they are in need of the Section 8 to discriminate against them just because they're going through a difficult time. It's something that should not stand. As the only state administrator of Section 8, we see this every day. And we do see the sad stories that people have to return the Section 8 voucher because nobody wants to rent for them. So we stand in strong support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next testifier is Ken Hiraki from the Hawaii Association of Realtors.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ken Hiraki from the Hawaii Realtors, testifying on HB 981 and also the next bill, 1390, which is similar to 981, as Mr. Hachijo pointed out. So we are respectfully opposed to both bills because these measures put the cart before the horse. They attempt to address the symptoms and not the underlying problem. Before we even consider legislation, we should do our best to address the underlying problems with the Section 8 application process, or else these problems will continue to fester and polarize the community, even with legislation. What these two bills attempt to do is to address the issue of tenants with Section 8 vouchers having difficulty finding housing. Currently, there are a lot of finger pointing with tenants blaming property owners and property owners blaming tenants for this problem. Unfortunately, both parties are caught up in this blame game through no fault of their own. This is not aloha, and we need to move away from this behavior. The truth is, what's causing the problem is a Section 8 rental process that disadvantages both the property owner and the tenant. Let me begin by saying that the Section 8 program fills an important and necessary social need in our community that we support. The problem is that the Section 8 application process often takes over a month and beyond from the time the property owner selects the Section 8 tenant to the time the Section 8 approval process reaches final government approval. In between this time, what is required is a myriad of filling out various forms, obtaining various approvals, trying to schedule times for a Section 8 inspector to physically come to inspect the property, more forms, and possibly scheduling follow-up inspections and approvals. To make matters worse, inspections were hampered as a result of COVID-19 and may be affected by budget constraints in the future. While waiting for final approval, the tenant is left in limbo and the property owner is unable to collect rent on the vacant unit for the month and beyond it takes to get the final approval. For those auntie and uncle or grandma type property owners, we rely on rent to survive, put food on the table, pay their mortgage, who may have lost their job. It may be an undue hardship to ask them to
Can you summarize?
and beyond
Sure.
to participate in the Section 8 program. In
Thank
February
you.
of that, can I take my time for the two bills at one time?
Thank you.
Okay.
The next testifier is Becky Shapiro from the League of Women Voters in support. Chris Caulfield, Imua Alliance in support. Hope Purpleman, ACLU of Hawaii in support.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Hope Kerpelman. I'm the Legal and Legislative Fellow with the ACLU of Hawaii. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. The ACLU of Hawaii strongly supports this bill. There's plenty of evidence of housing discrimination based on source of income in Hawaii. If you just go on a common rental website like Craigslist, you can easily find numerous posts that list available apartments that have disclaimers that say Section 8 is not accepted. And that's just a sample of the explicit discrimination in these cases, not including the other implicit forms. Allowing this type of discrimination can essentially render important housing programs like Section 8 ineffective. One main intended benefit of this type of housing assistance is that it makes the existing housing stock affordable that's vacant, as opposed to having to create new affordable housing units to fill the need. And these types of long-term vouchers have been proven to lead to extremely positive housing stability outcomes for families experiencing houselessness. We still have one of the worst houselessness rates in the country in Hawaii, and vouchers and other programs like these are supposed to help fix the problem. But if landlords can refuse to rent to all of these tenants, they essentially have a veto over these programs. Voucher recipients are left with very few options for housing, if any at all, and they can lose their voucher if they can't find a home before the voucher expires. So federal law does not protect against this kind of discrimination, which is why numerous other states, cities, and counties have already passed ordinances prohibiting this behavior. And these laws are effective. Voucher holders in areas with these laws have already reported higher rates of success in finding an apartment. We don't believe that this kind of discrimination should be allowed to continue in Hawaii. For these reasons, the ACLU of Hawaii strongly supports this measure. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hope. Next testifier is Kathleen Elgayer with the Hawaiian Children's Action Network in support. Gavin Thornton with Hawaii Appleseed Center for Law and Economic Justice in support. Laurie Field in support. David Chi in opposition. And late testimony from Kathy Beth, Department of Human Services in support. Are there any questions? Yes, Vice Chair Hashimoto.
I guess maybe this is either for Scott or the team. I see this is a governor's package. So I'm not sure who introduced this, but either one of you can introduce. But Scott or Hakeem, team, which one of you would like to lead on this?
Hi, Representative. I believe the Hawaii Commission on Status of Women is the primary supporter of this. So I defer to the commission.
Well, let me ask the team then about this. I guess, you know, since I know you work closely with this type of program, you know, what has happened over the past couple of years to try and increase the amount of people that are participating in these project programs? I guess the incentives that's from the state or county side to increase the amount of people participating in the program?
I apologize, Representative. I didn't sound clear. I didn't hear it well.
Can you hear me a little better, team?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
I guess the question really is what have you done or encouraged the folks, I think there's some in your office at the county level to increase the participation of getting people, encouraging them to do Section 8, right? I think if it's a problem, have we been trying to address, I think stereotypes of renting for Section 8 or how easy it is? Because I know the realtors have been saying that it takes a while to go through the process. Have we been doing anything on the state side to try and increase the participation from the landlord side?
Yeah, thank you very much. We have done multiple landlord outreach. We have hired a landlord liaison to work with the landlords. We have done a lot of things to entice it. In the last 3 months, we instituted a lease in place, meaning that if you went through COVID and your income now qualifies you for Section 8 as an example, that you'll be able to stay in that housing that you've been for many years, and we just transfer it to Section 8. And even at that, we had many landlords who did not want to take Section 8. We heard feedback from our tenants and from some landlords that one of the reason is the fact that they will get a 1099 for any federal money that they get from us, and they will have to pay tax, and they don't prefer. So some tenants did not want to do that. We adjust. The application process is very simple, and it doesn't apply to the landlord. It only applies to the tenants. And once the landlord agrees to take a Section 8, there is an agreement that they have to sign, and that's pretty much it. We do inspections to make sure it's safe, decent, and sanitary. And if it's not safe, we return to inspect. And sometimes we don't even have to return. You just have to show a picture of it. During COVID, we actually accepted self-certification from the landlord that we do not have to come to your home. You don't want a stranger coming to your home. So they just sign a self-certification, and we can return whenever this COVID is between us. So we've done a lot. Initially, we really thought that the issue was the perception, because landlords told us that they're gonna damage our units and things like that, which is not true. But this pandemic have shown that there is a financial issue as well, that many landlords refuse just to pay the amount of taxes they have to on that. And finally, just to summarize it, from the application process to giving the landlord, the delay has always been and continues to be finding a suitable home. Our checks are cut consistently, never late. And for those landlords who participate in Section 8, they continue to participate forever because they see that perception is being shattered. I hope I answered the question.
So you're saying there is no delay then, that, from when you want to, because I understand you have to have a contract in place and then you apply. What is the turnaround time at that point? So if you're not in the program from start to finish, how long does that take?
Thank you. So the minute the landlord signed that lease agreement, the payment starts from that time. So even if we process it a week later or 2 weeks later, they get paid from that point. The time that it takes is for the application itself. So the tenant has to apply. Let me just a quick example. I know the time is very limited. when we did the preference, lease in place of preference, about 8,000 people applied. Of those, we selected 3,000 to be on the wait list, and all the 3,000 were contacted. Only 780 at the end of the day were able to achieve that. Some the landlord did not want, and some didn't qualify because we go through a criminal check, a lot of federal requirement. But that part takes place before it becomes an issue of the landlord.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Question for Ken Hiraki. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Well, if Ken Hiraki.
Hi.
So Ken, I have a question. Do you folks have a list of people? Because I noticed you're opposing this, the realtors. Do you guys keep a list of people and the application process on everybody? Because I'm assuming, there's a lot of different people, whether they're middle income, low income, or Section 8 that do apply. Is there a list that you folks go through, irregardless of the application process?
Yeah, so so in February of last year, we did participate in a roundtable discussion organized by the governor's office, and we volunteered to assist in finding innovative ways to streamline the Section 8 approval process. So we discussed the idea of an online application and a video inspection process that can be completed in a few days using technology. But to answer your question, we also discussed this pre-approval process similar to the FHA program, where properties are fast-tracked for final approval. So you can be on this list right away. And or a similar model using iPads, where the process is similar to when you go for vehicle inspections. So that was on the list for discussion. And so there's supposed to be a subsequent meeting to happen, but for whatever reason, it wasn't.
So Ken, the reason I'm asking is because, sorry, shoot. Okay. So Ken, the reason why I'm asking is because on Molokai, it seems like Section 8 becomes the priority, yeah? And everybody else that tries to apply for it, they get left behind, yeah? And so I see the thing going both ways because, so I find it hard that, you folks are discriminating. I mean.
No, just to clarify, we don't want to discriminate. What we are opposing is the application process, that we'd like to streamline the process so it doesn't take a month to get approval and get paid. And in fact, the landlord loses on that month that it takes to process. We believe that through discussions, we can actually come up with a process that benefits both the tenant as well as the property owner. As far as provisions about discrimination, we favor that, anti-discrimination.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Aloha, Representative. I believe you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
So, because I need to unmute myself.
Okay.
So, can you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Sorry about the technical problems.
That's okay. Thank you.
Mute.
reconvening the Housing Committee meeting. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I think we have our audio working again. So I had a question for Hakeem. This is relating to the time that it takes to start receiving rental payments. And I think one of the concerns that I heard was that it takes 3 to 4 months. And that's one of the reasons why landlords are hesitant to participate in this program.
Yeah, thank you, Representative. We did hear.
Now we can't hear you.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Very soft.
Is this better? I'm speaking as loud. Can you hear me?
Barely.
It must be a speaker over there for some reason. I did not adjust anything from earlier.
Participants can hear you outside who are on Zoom.
Sorry, I can continue to speak until you tell me that it's okay. Is this okay, Representative? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sorry, should we recess?
Yeah.
Recess, but Hakeem. Calling the Housing Committee back to order. Hakeem, you're gonna respond to my question about the time it takes to initiate the rental payment, the Section 8 rental payment.
Yes, thank you very much. We did hear that rumor as well, and it has nothing to do with reality. We do have an online process. We do send to the landlord an email with the document, DocuSign. So we have all of those things in place. If the question from the time that the tenant applies to the time, yes, it will take that long because it will take us a couple of months to do criminal check, to do income verification, employment verification, and all that. But at that time, we haven't even issued the voucher yet. So it has nothing with the landlord. It has nothing to do with the landlord. Once we issue the voucher, the tenants start looking for a place. The minute they find it, we are incentivized because we earn administrative fees the quicker we do it. So there is no delay there. We'll schedule an inspection. If they are unable to do inspection, we do video inspections. We do self-certification, which is even better, whereby the landlord themselves self-certify that it's safe, decent, and sanitary, and then we check later. We even offered in a last round that we did, we even offered up to $500. If landlord doesn't have the money and there is a health issue that we can fix it, we can give him that voucher. And even at that, it's still a lot of landlords do not want to participate.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. And Vice Chair Hashimoto, did you have another question?
Yeah, I guess, Hakeem, I think part of what we're looking at is it's going to be a civil, I guess, going to have to go pursue this through, a civil matter. If someone feels that there's discrimination, I guess from your perspective, is 5,000 too much? Is 5,000 the correct amount that they can recoup? The next version of the bill is 500. So we're trying to figure out what the disparity, what would make it, a fair amount for landlords. Because I think I would just imagine that people start to get, even more scared if you're a landlord, right?
Yeah, I think when the rent is $3,000, $3,500, a landlord to pay $500, it doesn't do anything. And really, if you strip everything, this bill just says, do not discriminate against someone because of how they're coming up with the money. So long as they pay you that money, so long as they're good tenants, they sign a lease agreement, all of those are requirements of federal requirements that they do anyway. And the bill just says, if they tell you that 70% of the money is coming from federal government, don't discriminate against them. And I think that's as fair as it can. I believe and I agree that the $5,000 will make them just pause at least and say, I'm not going to discriminate. Let me check him out. Let me do my criminal check. Let's see if this is a good tenant. If he's not a good tenant, then he's not. But if he or she are good tenants, they should not say, no, we don't want to take it because you are Section 8 recipient. And as I stated earlier, Representative, in the past 7 or 8 years, we've always been told, even by landlords, that the reason they do not want to rent is these are not people that will maintain the property. They're going to destroy our properties. And that seems to switch when the perception has changed. And now the real feedback, even from some landlords since December, is that they do not want to pay the taxes on the rental income that they have generated. The other thing I would like to say, if there is HUD guideline that comes and the rents are comparable, we're not even asking for discounts. And oftentimes, we offer 110% of the market rent is. So if it's $1,000, we offer the landlord up to $1,100.
Thank you. I guess one last question for you. So if you're a landlord, can you become, Section 8 certified in a sense? So you put on a list so it's more streamlined. I guess you're part of the program, or does that not exist? It's just a case-by-case basis.
We do have a list of some of the landlords who are willing to take the Section 8, and we refer the tenants to those folks. But that's very limited, very small. And for example, we issued in December 780 Section 8 vouchers. We only had about 12 landlord names on it, on the list. So there is certainly a need. And sometimes I'd like to add this in follow-up response to earlier question is, sometimes it takes 6 months for somebody has Section 8 voucher looking every day, and it takes, we give them 2 months, then they'll come back and say, we need more time, we extend. So yes, we do have a list, but it's not extensive. But we do have to inspect at the sign-in. So once they sign the lease agreement, either they can self-certify or we can send inspector at that time because the condition changes. If we have a list, condition will change.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Rep. DeCoit?
Representative, we can't hear you.
So Hakeem, so even with the process.
Close to your mic.
Hakeem, even with the process that you folks have set now, is this still actually necessary?
I apologize. For some reason, again, it's not.
The question is this bill necessary?
Is this bill necessary?
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is. I believe it is. I think it will prevent people from, if you go to Craigslist now, you can see that no Section 8 is accepted. It will just give an opportunity to the landlord to meet the tenant and have them fill out an application and not discriminate against them. I think it's very needed, very necessary. A lot of people continue to be unhoused or overcrowded with a lot of vacant units just because the landlords are refusing. And we had cases that management companies, they just say the landlord will not consider it, period. It's not even given an opportunity. And these are units that are vacant and advertised as vacant. But if I go, I'll get it. But if my sister has Section 8 and goes, she won't get it.
So Hakeem, I have to say this, it has taken preferential treatment on Molokai, where the landlords have actually taken Section 8, and those other ones that are waiting, because Section 8 has guaranteed money for some of the landlords. So it could go both ways, yeah. And part of advertising, some might say, they won't take it, but I find it where those that are not Section 8 don't have an opportunity also, because for whatever reason, it's not guaranteed that they'll have that voucher every month. And as COVID has hit us, they're kind of being shifted to the side. So I kind of don't agree with everything that you're saying. I think in areas they have been really fair. And I think those that don't have Section 8 either, they could also be bad tenants. I mean, again, you go through that list, you vet that list out. First person applies, you interview them. And so I think that, this is really, we can look at it both ways. Yeah. So, but thank you, Chair. Sorry.
Thank you.
Any further questions on HB 981? Hearing none, let's go to the next item, HB 1390, which is similar. We have similar testifiers. William Hoshijo from the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission in support.
Thank you, Chair. We have our written testimony, and I just refer back to the discussion on the earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott Morishige, support.
Good morning, Chair. Stand on my written testimony, but just note that housing, the discrimination this bill would address is not just limited to individuals with Section 8 vouchers. I think homeless individuals who have a Housing First voucher or other type of permanent supportive housing voucher also run into the same challenges, and it is a very real barrier to them. In addition, I think we need to look at the context that the federal government is considering increased funding for housing subsidies and trying to figure out how we can address the barriers that people may find, because if they continue to face the same level of discrimination, it might render the increased assistance that's flowing into the community. But thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Scott. Next testifier is Hakeem Wansafi from HPHA in support.
Thank you, Chair. We stand on our testimony in support and what we have said earlier. And just to note that once a tenant have a Section 8, they do not lose that Section 8 voucher for life, except if they become over income that is required. Other than that, they keep it. And just our agency alone, there is a little over $37 million a year that comes to the state for this program. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next up is Ken Hiraki, Hawaii Association of Realtors in opposition.
Yeah, I'll stand on our written testimony, but just in closing, these two bills put the cart before the horse and does not address the underlying problem. As I mentioned before, the Section 8 program provides a terrific social good, but why is it designed in a way that disadvantages a property owner who is willing to lend a helping hand, as well as disadvantages a tenant who the program is intended to help? So be willing to work with the committee to flip this around and fix the problem. Let's make it work. Thank you.
Next up is Becky Shapiro from the League of Women Voters in support. Chris Caulfield, Imua Alliance in support. Hope Krippelman, ACLU of Hawaii in support.
Thank you, Chair. The ACLU of Hawaii strongly supports this bill as well. We note, as others have, that it's functionally the same as the previous measure, but it's a bit more comprehensive, and it does include steering and other forms of discrimination that's not included in the previous bill. So the ACLU does think that these things should be included. And we also note that if the committee decided to adopt this language, we would propose an amendment to raise the maximum penalty from $500 to $5,000. Otherwise, we stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Gavin Thornton from Appleseed in support, and David Chi in opposition. Is David on? Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, if seeing none, we will go on to the next item, HB 1387, relating to public housing to establish a pilot program to ensure that all housing at Kuhio Park Terrace and Pu'uwai Momi public housing complexes are provided with sufficient internet speeds and connection quality, appropriates money. First up is Brooke Connor from the State of Hawaii Department of Education.
Aloha, Chair and committee members. This is Brooke Connor from the Department of Education, standing on the department's written testimony offering comments on this measure. We're available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hakeem Wansafi from Hawaii Public Housing Authority.
Thank you, Chair. We stand on our testimony, appreciating the intent and noting that one of the properties listed in the bill, it's privately owned. It's not owned by HPHA. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the clarification. Next up is Ryan Kusumoto from Parents and Children Together in support. Annie Peterson, Better Tomorrows in support.
Aloha, are you taking my oral testimony now?
Yes, you are. You're next.
Okay. Aloha, Honorable Chair Nakamura and committee members. I've served as the Resident Services Coordinator for the Kuhio Park community for over 10 years. And in that time, I've come to know the population very well. It was heartbreaking when COVID hit our community, and it hit it really hard. I can only think of a handful of households that haven't been affected. Pardon me for a minute. Becoming aware of the socioeconomic language and educational divide between, sorry, I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. Pardon me. Seems like difficulty is the name of the game today. Oh my.
Would you like us to come back?
Almost there. Almost there.
Okay. Why don't we just go on to the next?
Okay. Okay.
And then we'll get back to you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The next testifier is Lemomi Khan in support. Radiant Cordero, council member from the city and county of Honolulu in support. Sarah Mosing in support, and Demaliza Saramosing in support. So let's go back to Annie Peterson from Better Tomorrow.
Yes, I'll just continue where I left off. Becoming aware of the socioeconomic, language, and educational divide between those with access to the internet and our population, I and my partners at Kuakalihi Valley Comprehensive Family Services, Parents and Children Together, and Hawaii Literacy began meeting almost a year ago to try to identify a way to bring site-wide Wi-Fi to close to 3,000 residents. And we are including the low-rise, Kuhio Park Terrace low-rise and Kuhio homes in that count, but we've had no success. The population includes around 800 school-age kids and teens who needed and still need access to distance learning. Further, having access to telehealth services could greatly benefit the frail population that includes over 50% Micronesians who, as you know, have been exposed to nuclear toxins that it's said will continue to manifest morbid health conditions in their population for 5 generations. I know that there's an appropriation with this bill, and I know that money's tight, but these folks paid it forward with promises of care and deserve to be connected to educational and community resources that are otherwise limited at this time. While we've been successful in bringing rental assistance, food delivery, and personal protective equipment, the goal of site-wide Wi-Fi still eludes us. Please help end this disparity. This help will echo throughout the island as many of our residents work in the service industry. It's a much needed workforce. You know, it's been hard hit. And without this access to education and services, the future for our residents will look very differently. And I thank you for your kind consideration of this testimony.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Are there any questions for any of the testifiers? Seeing none, let's go to the next item, HB 1213. First up is Denise Iseri Matsubara from HHSDC.
Morning, Chair. Thank you very much. HHFDC respectfully opposes this measure that seeks to amend Chapter 201H by requiring affordable units in a project to remain affordable in perpetuity for counties of certain populations. You have our written testimony. We've outlined the reasons why in it. I'm happy to elaborate should the committee so desire. I just wanted to say that, mandating affordability in perpetuity doesn't actually achieve its intent. Unfortunately, there are a lot of legal and just practical reasons why it doesn't work, but happy to elaborate should the committee desire us to do so. Thank you, Chair.
Denise. Next up is Becky Shapiro from League of Women Voters in support. Late testimony has been received from Mayor Victor Reno, County of Maui, with comments. Ellen Godby Carson in support, and Pamela Tumpak from Maui Chamber of Commerce in opposition. Are there any questions? Okay. If not, let's go on to HB 1311. First up is Alan Downer from DLNR. No? We can get back to him. Next is Denise Iseri Matsubara from HHSDC.
Thank you, Chair. So HHFDC strongly supports with the requested amendment. This bill actually removes the completion deadline in order to preserve the state's financing for the project. There are, close to $40 million at stake here. affordable housing is difficult enough to deliver. This is low income rental units in particular. So we appreciate the support and the consideration for the requested amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have Mayor Victorino, Office of the Mayor, Maui County, in support. And let's just check again with Alan Downer from DLNR. Okay. No. Oh, here he is.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The department stands on its written testimony in respectful opposition to this measure.
We have, let's see, are there any questions? Vice Chair Hashimoto?
I guess this question is for Dr. Downer. I think, you know, I think your testimony brings up a very important point that you're looking out, you know, for a lot of the archaeology in that area. But I think what we need to ask you at this juncture is, why has your department dragged your feet in this respect? Because I think from my understanding, you're the biggest impediment to getting this done, you know, in a timely manner. And I think this is the second or third time that we're asking for the extension of these funds. But I think HHFDC has been pushing hard to get this done, but it's really been, you know, SHPD that's been the holdup. I guess, do you have any explanation for why that is?
Well, I would like to point out, obviously I can't give you the whole history of the excuse me, of the project, but with respect to the Kiawe Street apartments, the requested archaeological inventory survey is already underway. It did take a considerable length of time to reach an agreement with both the project sponsor and the archaeological firm on exactly the dimensions of the survey, what needed to be done. Based on our discussions with the consultant, the archaeological consultant, we believe that the survey will be completed in a timely manner, one that will still allow delivery of the project. In terms of the larger question, I mean, I think there was some confusion which took considerable length of time to sort out, was the matter of how this fitted into the larger project. And, I mean, I think the way it was presented to us originally was, this is a single project, and we're going to build out the whole thing. And, the problem there is that the Supreme Court has ruled that you cannot sort of phase a project, that you have to do it. If you've got a single project, you have to do the compliance with Chapter 6E all at once. You can't do it step by step. Given the way this project is going to be funded over time, we don't think that, we think we've got a solution there. And for the larger project area, we know that there are, as my testimony, as the written testimony points out, there are known archaeological sites and known burials in the area.
I guess, Dr. I appreciate the explanation. I think the bottom line is there is a level of frustration with this project. And I think, I know you've been trying really hard to fasten the pace of SHPD, but I think we really need to push harder. I think a lot of projects are stuck at SHPD, and I think that's just the reality. And I think this is just another one of them. So I appreciate your testimony, but I hope that we can continue pushing forward to figure out what are the bottlenecks at SHPD. So thank you very much.
If I may respond, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
We realize that there are problems. And one of the problems that I think I'll point out that, we have had administrative problems internally. Part of that has to do with just, the overwhelming level of work that we're expected to push out with a staff that simply, there just aren't enough people. We have, in December, our new cultural resource information system went live, which means that all of this stuff that comes to us will be coming in digitally. And the system is set up in a manner that will reduce the number of bottlenecks internally, the number of times we have to handle paper, the number of times we have to figure out whose desk something is on, because that will be all part of the digital system. You know,
Thank you very much. We will ask Mr. Downer to maybe have a offline conversation with Vice Chair Hashimoto and myself at a later date. But thank you very much.
I'd be happy to arrange that.
Okay. So then let's now go to the, are there any other questions for HB 1311? Then if not, let's go to HB 76. And before we begin testimony, I would like to say that Chair's intent is to defer this matter. That we have had conversations with the Planning Director, Kaina Hall, on Kauai, and we have heard about the tremendous progress that is being made in delisting illegal vacation rentals and working on sending out hundreds of notice of violation because of the unprecedented level of cooperation with Airbnb and Expedia. Now, I am very cautious about doing this, but I think that my hope will be that this will happen in every other county, not just Kauai, and that there will be other platforms that also have memorandums of understanding to do the same thing to prevent the shifting of illegal units from one platform to another, and that by doing so, we will open up housing for local people. And that's the bottom line. I'm really happy with the public-private cooperation that's happening that hasn't happened in a long time. So Chair's intent is to defer. So let's keep that in mind as we go through the testimony that we have received. And if you want to stand by your testimony, that would be fine with all of us here. Okay, so first up is HB 76, Ken Hiraki, Hawaii Association of Realtors.
Stand on our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Gongsabat, Airbnb.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Very much appreciate your comments there. And I really want to take my time to really highlight the great leadership of Director Hull and Mayor Kawakami. They've been great public partners in this, and we're really happy to have this MOU work. As you know, Chair, we also have a similar MOU in Honolulu County, along with Expedia. We hope to sign a similar agreement to your note in Maui County, and have been in discussions with local officials for many months. In Hawaii County, we have Bill 108, which are host community, and we work with the county council. So very much appreciate your comments here. We have a longstanding commitment to work with local and state policymakers on short-term rental policy, and hope to work with you and your committee. And if there's anything that we can answer, regarding the memorandums of understanding or the city portal tool, we are available to you and your members. Thank you.
Okay. So there's a long list of testifiers, so I'm just going to go down the ones who, and I just want to say that we received all of the written testimony. I'm going to just go down to the ones who agreed to, who have been approved to provide oral testimony. So let's go to Karen Mahoney in opposition. Okay. Rick Henry Cabado in opposition. Amy Bond. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Michael Ramos, Lisa Downer in opposition. Did I miss anyone who signed up and would like to testify on this matter? Are there any questions, members? Okay. All right, so we will recess for decision making. Reconvening the Housing Committee. We're ready to vote on the items. The first up is HB 77, relating to lands controlled by the state. Would like to recommend an amendment to this bill. We would like to add the suggested amendments from OHA. We would like to defect the date and have any technical and non-substantive amendments. Are there any questions or concerns? Then Vice Chair, let's take the vote.
Recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 77 with amendments, with the chair and vice chair voting aye. Representative Aquino. Aye. Representative Decoy.
Aye.
Representative Iligan.
Aye.
Representative Kitagawa.
Aye.
Representative Takumi.
Aye.
And Representative McDermott is excused. Recommendation is adopted, Chair.
Thank you. Next item is HB 212 relating to fire protection. Due to the concerns raised about the preparation of the form, shifting the cost estimates to general contractors, and questions about oversight, I would like to recommend that we defer this measure. Next up is HB 502 relating to rural districts. Would like to ask that we, let's see, Vice Chair Hashimoto, did you have some amendments?
I think we were just going to recommend adding in OP's amendment, Office of Planning, relating to the community plans and general plans.
Okay, so consistency with the general plan and community development plans for every county. We want to defect the date and any technical and non-substantive amendments. Are there any questions, concerns? Okay, let's take the vote.
Recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 502 with amendments, noting the presence of all members with the exception of Representative McDermott. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. The next item is 605 relating to housing accounts, and would like to take the recommendations of Department of Budget and Finance to approve with amendments. And the amendment would be to turn this into a study that the study would look at the mechanics of establishing a statewide housing savings program, would look at the staff and operating costs associated with this program, and the implementation strategy and timeline. And we would be working with the Legislative Reference Bureau to do this analysis. We want to defect the date and any technical and non-substantive amendments. Are there any questions or concerns? Hearing none. Vice Chair, let's take the vote.
Recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 605 with amendments, noting the presence of all members with the exception of Representative McDermott. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, the recommendation is adopted.
Okay, members, with the next item, HB 616, we have learned about ongoing public-private efforts to address this issue of providing broadband to all of our public housing projects. Due to the lack of general funds and currently available to do this plan, we would like to defer this measure and the one relating to this. Because the public-private efforts are going on to identify the actual costs that are going to be involved and getting better deals from some of the carriers, we think that that's probably the best way to go. And should federal funds become available, we really want to put Public Housing Authority together with the DOE to make sure this gets done. So make it a priority. So we'll like to defer this measure at this time. The next item relating to counties, this is The concern that we heard had to do with the unfunded mandate for the counties to take on this work. We think this is an important piece, so we would like to be asking Vice Chair Hashimoto to follow up on this, to work with DHHL to go through that list and to clarify the ongoing cost to maintain this infrastructure. So we'd like to defer this measure as well. The next item is relating to rental discrimination. We would like to we'd like to pass with amendments. We'd like to defect the date, any technical non-substantive amendments. We like to limit this to the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program and Permanent Supportive Housing Programs, and decrease the damages from $5,000 to $2,500. In the committee report, we would also like to encourage Hawaii Public Housing Authority to continue efforts to streamline the approval processes and to work with the Hawaii Board of Realtors and landlord organizations to educate them and to grow the pre-approved list of landlords willing to take on Section 8 and other permanent housing supportive program voucher recipients. So that's the recommended amendment and comment.
Okay, recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 981 with amendments, noting the presence of all members with the exception of Representative McDermott.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Discussion, please.
Thank you. No, thank you, Chair. I do have concerns with this bill. I thank you, Chair, for adding in having them to work together. I think, at some point there is unfair process, and I think the streamlining is very crucial. So I'm hoping that they can work together so that we can get a fair process for both sides. So thank you for that, but I do have concerns.
Sure.
Mahalo.
Any other comments and questions? Sorry, I'm new to this. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, Vice Chair.
All right. Recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 981 with amendments, noting the presence of all members with the exception of Representative McDermott. Any members voting with reservations? Any reservations from Representative DeCoit? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next item, HB 1387, relating to public housing, also targeting a couple of projects for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier, the ongoing efforts to move in this direction through a public-private effort. I would like to defer this measure. Going on to, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is. We did 981. Did we do this? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped HB 1390 relating to rental discrimination. Also, we're going to defer that, and we're going to make HB 981 the vehicle. Then with HB 1387, we're going to defer for the reasons stated earlier. Then for HB 1213, we would like to defer this measure as well due to HHFDC concerns regarding perpetuity. For HB 1311, relating to affordable housing, we will recommend passage with amendments to include HHFDC, proposed amendments on page 3, deleting lines 6 to 10, on page 4, deleting lines 8 to 10, defect the date, and any technical non-substantive amendments. Vice Chair, we can take the vote. Are there any questions or concerns? Okay, now we can take the vote.
Recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 1311 with amendments, noting the presence of all members with the exception of Representative McDermott. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, the recommendation is adopted.
Okay, and the last item, HB 76, relating to counties amortization, we're recommending deferral, as I mentioned earlier. So, thank you very much.
I have a comment, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome to your first committee hearing. Congratulations. Yes, you know, I've chaired 5 committees during my time here, chaired hundreds of hearings. I say you did a wonderful job. Not quite as good as Chair Aquino, but there's something to aspire to, something to aspire to. You can get this level, yeah? So congratulations, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad I have people to ask and refer questions to. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.